Gracefully and Frankly is brought to you by the proudly Canadian company Sierra Sil. These minerals have been shown to effectively support joint health and earned 2 U.S. patents. Yeah, they're sold there too. Most customers, like my Rob, Leisha's Derek, and me, feel noticeable improvement quickly, but if after 14 days you're not sure, contact them for a refund.
Go to Sierra Sil, Sierra like the mountains, SIL.com, and use the code GF. You'll get 10% off.
Welcome to episode 80 of Gracefully and Frankly. Hey, Lisa Brandt, do you know what 80 is in anniversaries?
What is it, Aaron Davis?
I wish it was maple because this entire episode is slathered in maple syrup and sunscreen. We'll get to that too. But it's oak. So our 80th episode is oak. So we're going to, before we leave you with a great episode. Oh, I'm sorry, that was lame, but what are you going to do?
That's okay.
Wish it was maple.
We're just trying to branch out.
Yes.
We're talking about Canadian things on this American 4th of July, and one of them is the flag, how the flag has been co-opted. And what do you think when you see the flag now? Is it worry at first, or does it still make you feel proud?
Good question. Also, mention slathering, sunscreen. Guess what? It does have an expiry date. You know that. It's on the package. But this is one expiry date that I'm actually going to pay attention to because your life could depend on it.
Yeah. And what about getting a tan? Now, number one, that's not a great idea anymore. We know that because of the sunscreen movement and how many people get melanoma. But if you pour beer on yourself, will you get anything more than a family of ants?
What are you wearing? Budweiser. We're going to talk about that, too. And the Celine Dion. And I'm sorry I have to say it like that. I know all of our lives on radio, it was Celine Dion. But it's Celine Dion. That sounds so fake saying it that way. What should I do, Lisa? What do I say?
Say it whatever. I say Celine Dion, but that, I'm just...
I don't know. Okay, so we just need to say Celine, and everybody knows who we're talking about, and you probably know we're discussing the documentary. Can you watch it? Will you watch it? We'll talk about it and what it's all about.
And how Canadian are you? Aaron, you have a quiz for us so we can figure that much out, eh?
Absolutely. And people, we only say A. You don't get to say A if you're not Canadian making fun of us. That's one of the rules, right?
I think so.
All right. The politeness and the I'm sorries go out the door and not out the door. When you start saying, we say A.
There's a word that we all pronounce the same, and it's envy.
Envy.
As in envy pillow. And something I'd never thought of, but makes perfect sense, is that some people have asked, how do you sleep on an envy pillow? Because it's shaped a little differently than anything you've put your head on before. Those puffy things that make no room for your head, the envy pillow has a V, which is why it's EN capital VY pillow, and cradles your head, supports your neck, offloads your face and jaw. People who have been diagnosed with TMJ, that painful jaw condition, are finding relief with the envy pillow, and you just simply don't get smooshed when your face is not being shoved into the poofiness of an overly filled pillow.
Go to envypillow.com. Do the quiz. Find out which pillow is right for you. Check out all their other products and use the code GF for 10% off. Well, I don't know how many of our listeners are from south of the 49th or wherever you have to cross over, but happy 4th of July to those who are celebrating today.
Yeah, and we had our big weekend, of course, our Canada Day weekend with the fireworks and the flags and the fun and the barbecuing and everything else. And how was it on Sydney by the Sea?
Oh, it was lovely. We did our thing June 30th, and I had talked about going down to the lawn, but there were so many people, and we didn't want to leave the dogs alone. So we sat out on the balcony and got, I would say, probably 80% of the show.
That's great.
Just from the angle that we were at. Yeah. And Dottie sat out on Rob's lap, and Livy was on mine. These are two-year-old Havanese that we have, little dogs. And Dottie didn't like it, so Rob took her in, and he sat right here in this studio with her and cuddled with her until the show was over, and she was fine.
Aww.
And Livy was very chill.
Oh,
yeah,
that's awesome.
It was nice. Canada Day was a whole bunch of activity down by the ocean, and there were boat competitions. You had to build your own boat from scratch, and it was exciting. And then when the boats were being launched, there was apparently a few whales off the pier, and I missed it because we were running errands and we were a bit late. But I'm going to see a whale, and you're going to hear me when I do, Lisa, and that's not on a microphone. Holy.
Well, we did go whale watching at Qualicum a couple of years ago, and that was pretty cool.
It was.
Do they do a parade there? I mean, there's a parade in London.
Yeah.
Our little town had its fireworks on the 30th as well, and festivities going on, but I don't believe we had a parade.
They did, and I managed to avoid that. A lot of people went, so that was wonderful. But it's so funny, I posted a picture of the fireworks, and then people just get on there saying how much they hate fireworks because of their pets. And I do too, but I didn't stage them. I just kind of posted a picture, And people who do it in your neighborhood or do it all hours or any day, yeah, they really deserve your derision. But me, I'm just posting a celebration of Canada.
The celebration of Canada. So I have this hat. It's a red hat with white writing, and it says, Canada is already great.
Yeah.
Like our version of Make America Great Again. No, we don't need to do that. We're already here. And I sent it to a friend in the U.S. He's got one, and, people always comment on it. But there are always people who have to just crap on everything. It's like, oh yeah, once Trudeau's out of office. It's like, really? You think the next person's going to be perfect and everything's going to be sunshine, a chicken in every pot, and we're all going to be millionaires, I tell you. Anyway, I'm getting carried away.
No, I saw that guy, but thank you for pointing out someone I should block.
Yeah, and I understand that Canada Day is a very complicated day for someone who's Indigenous or we have a lot of privilege. I recognize my privilege in celebrating Canada Day because it doesn't harm me in any way. I wasn't colonialized. So I understand that and I respect it very much. But I don't understand the people who can't take 1 minute to just go, you know what? We live in a pretty good country. Like, do they not read the news or travel? We lucked out to be born here.
Well, that's the thing. And I think travel really does expand your opinions and horizons so much if you're fortunate enough to do it, or if you've come from a country where from oppression.
Yeah.
Heavy-handed government and all of that. It's just travel really, really does help that way.
Yeah, but so does YouTube.
Right? It's so true.
If you look at a video or two from other countries, there's a lot of problems around the world, and Canada's far from perfect. We've got our own set of problems, but we've got a lot of things really well, so.
Yeah, and it's nice to see the Canadian flag flying and not feeling that tightness in your heart. And I know it's the snowflakiest thing anyone can say, but I get triggered seeing people flying Canada flags from their vehicles now because I think, are you doing it out of a place of love or hate?
Yeah.
And the Canada flag was always a symbol of inclusion and welcome. And now it stands for hatred and intolerance and anger. And I don't know, can we ever get it back, Lisa?
I don't know. It's just not right that it's been co-opted by anyone who isn't aligned with what it was about. I really don't know. When I see it on a car or a truck, I have the exact same. I look for the F Trudeau on the back or some sort of conspiracy theory in spray paint on the side or something to make sure that they're doing it with pride, because you just don't know. I don't know how we get it back. If it wasn't for the internet, we wouldn't know how many people thought the way they do,
right,
and how they've been able to find each other and mobilize and create a movement. It was like, well, Bernie down the street feels like I do, so it must be okay. And it's not fair to the rest of us. But, it's funny. Patton Oswalt, one of my favorite comics, and I know you know who he is.
Yeah.
He has this saying, that you have to respect everybody's opinion. He says, no, you don't. You listen to everybody's opinion, and then you decide for yourself whether they're a moron or not. You don't have to respect respect everybody's opinion. Not everybody has gone into any depth. They've thought of it off the top of their head. They haven't done any looking into the subject.
Yeah.
You know? So it's like, no, I don't respect everybody's opinion. I will hear you.
Yeah.
I'll listen to you. I'll give you a shot. But
Well, I think the flat earthers are the best proof there is of that whole theory. I mean, that's the perfect example.
Well, the favorite one of mine is the meme that every once in a while goes around, but somebody from the Flat Earth Society, and I checked it out on Snopes, it's real,
Yeah.
wrote that the Flat Earther movement is growing because now we have members all around the globe.
Jeez. Oh, man. So many things to be proud of that have come out of Canada. Have you seen the Celine Dion documentary, I Am?
It's coming up as a promo all the time, and people are talking about it, and I just can't make myself watch it because I just don't want to be that sad.
Yeah.
I'm sure a day will come when I'll be able to, but I just don't have the appetite for it right now. That's not that I don't empathize and feel terrible. In fact, I empathize with her so much and feel so terrible that I'm afraid to watch it. But is it as good as people are saying?
It's a lot.
Yeah.
But it is also as heartbreaking as it is uplifting. And, you know, as a card-carrying Canadian, I think everybody knows Celine Dion's backstory.
Yeah.
And that is, of course, a girl from a family of, 14 kids or something like that, the last one. And they grew up with very, very little. She tells a story about her mother making carrot pie for dinner one night because they just had nothing.
Yeah.
And then, of course, she has been given this gift of a voice. And in René Angélil, she finds someone who will mentor her. We're not going to get into the kind of skeeziness of the whole age difference and all that because obviously he was the man for her.
Yep.
And she still mourns him deeply.
Sure.
So her talent grows. She gets exposure. She builds. She learns. She trains. And then just was not an overnight success. She built and she worked and she worked and she worked. And then, of course, sort of the climax of it is this whole Las Vegas stay, but then she's having to postpone shows or cancel shows. And for 17 years, Lisa, she has been dealing with this rare disease, stiff person syndrome.
Wow.
And as someone said so wisely, you never want a rare disease because that means that they haven't got a lot to go on, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very good point. And it's something most of us had never even heard of. I hadn't.
No. And it's funny, the comments in the New York Times, somebody saying, she's got it and my sister had it and didn't have the privilege of all this treatment. And I thought, I get your pain that your sister died of this, but do you not see that when a Michael J. Fox or a Lou Gehrig or someone of that stature gets a disease, then, yeah, now it gets attention and maybe funds so that others won't go through it in the future.
Well, of course. And talk to the thousands of families that have had people die from organ transplants until they got that right. And when it's your own family, you can't reason it away. It's emotion, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because now we never would have known this existed if it wasn't for Celine Dion.
Mm-hmm.
Who would have known? Like scleroderma. I'll always remember Bob Saget's sister had that.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never heard of it until Bob Saget's sister died from this, and he started a foundation and he did all these things. I mean, talk about using your celebrity for good.
Exactly. So in this case, it's grueling, it's awful, while the documentary crew, who were actually there just to kind of shoot almost like a day in the life during COVID for her, the documentary filmmaker said she didn't know if they were going to be going out on tour with her. They didn't know. But Celine said, okay, total access. Here you go. And she told her not to turn off the camera in case you think it's voyeuristic or so awful when Celine goes into a full seizure with this horrid disease in which she is actually curled up in a ball and you really think she's going to die. Wow. It's terrible. It's awful. And she's suffering so much. And you wouldn't want to see that, an animal, a person, anybody. To watch it is grueling. But it's also completely uplifting and inspiring because she's not giving up.
Can I ask what her prognosis is?
They didn't say.
Yeah, I wondered.
They didn't say. I don't think there is a positive prognosis. There are good days. There are bad days. We saw a good day last week when she practically sprinted out on her eldest son's arm to announce the Montreal Canadiens draft pick in Las Vegas. There are some people who are going to say, well, yeah, what about that documentary where she's supposed to be so sick? Well, you didn't watch it if you're being the least bit cynical about the severity of her illness. And so the question is, why? Why would you put this story out for the world to consume? And her answer is because she has always lived as an open book. And it broke her heart to lie to people that she had an ear infection or a throat infection or whatever the excuse du jour was going to be for her cancellations. And it broke her heart that people had spent their hard-earned money to come see her only to have it canceled. So she felt she owed it to her fans because she has lived for her fans.
There was a time before our time in Hollywood that I'm sure you've read about too, where if something happened to somebody, it was all hidden and covered up, and the show must go on, put on a happy face and all that. And I think it's this authenticity and transparency that makes you love somebody you've never met so much. I'm thinking of Christina Applegate and her MS fight right now.
Yeah.
It helps people to show that, yeah, I may have hundreds of millions of dollars in the bank. I'm saying Celine, not me.
Yeah.
But if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And I couldn't do anything about this. And I have a friend who has MS, and she has gotten yelled at when she has parked with her accessible parking sticker because she walks a little slow, but she looks, quote unquote, fine. And somebody like Christina Applegate coming forward and saying, I got good days and I've got bad days. I've got days when I can do stuff and days when I just lay there. And I think it's very important, and I don't think if anybody watches the documentary, they'll think she's looking for sympathy. She's quite a strong woman.
Oh, my God, is she ever? And two things came out of this when I was done watching it, and one of them you've already touched on, and that is Steve Jobs, Celine Dion.
Yeah.
All the money in the world. Things are getting better for pancreatic cancer. There are steps toward a cure and longevity that are so positive, but in Steve Jobs' case, there was no hope. And in Celine Dion's case, you just don't know. And so you think, okay, all the money in the world. And the other one is, what kind of a big power in the universe gives you a gift that is so rare and so exceptional that gives the world so much joy and then goes, no, you don't. I just don't get it.
See, here's where the way I look at the world is it's random. It's not a give and take thing. Some babies are born with cancer. Some people live to be 110 despite smoking.
Yes.
None of it makes sense. And you have to either be okay with that or find a way to view that, find a lens to view that under. I know my mind, I guess, is configured a little differently, and I just go, it makes no sense. But I'm okay with that. I'm okay with it not making sense. Some people aren't. And that's okay, too, because I'm okay with them being okay. I hope they're okay with me. Anyway.
Okay. And on that note, how about some wisdom from Baz Luhrmann?
Okay.
Ladies and gentlemen of the class of 99, wear sunscreen. If I could offer you only one tip for the future, sunscreen would be it. The long-term benefits of sunscreen have been proved by scientists, whereas the rest of my advice has no basis more reliable than my own meandering experience.
Hey, us too. Look at that. Do you remember when that was a big thing? The everybody's free to wear sunscreen, Baz Luhrmann, and it was just seen as this wonderful bit of wisdom. My favorite part of it is live in New York, but leave before it makes you hard. And the other one was respect your knees, because there will come a day when you go, I miss my knees. And I think of that little piece, wear sunscreen, so often. But sunscreen is in the news these days, a lot.
It's for good and for bad reasons. But I think, Aaron, I don't think you're going to eat sunscreen like you would eat old cream cheese because Not that you would anyway.
Good old cream cheese.
Yeah, good old, yeah. But there were some sunscreens that were actually recalled. I just want to mention this quickly. Suntegrity Impeccable Skin Sunscreen Foundation might have a fungus in it, so you might get mushrooms with your sunscreen. But apparently, it's not just a thing to get you to buy more sunscreen. The expiry date on sunscreen really matters.
See, now this is one that I said to my husband, we're going to have to go through all that sunscreen that we're in the process of moving from our house to the condo because Rob has had numerous growths removed from different body parts and especially his face. He had to have part of his nose removed. Unfortunately, not the part where the white hairs grow out of. Why not? But anyway, so he is super careful because he was a redheaded kid with freckles. And as kids in the 50s and 60s, you weren't slathered with sun cream or sunscreen at that time. We know better. We do better now.
Yeah.
But yes, and I said to him about the expiry dates and he went, oh, BS. Well, not BS.
Yeah, apparently the composition of ingredients that make up sunscreen literally break down and it's useless. It's like you're putting nothing on your skin. So it does not work. And this is something I've been trying to get through to my husband. Actually, he's understanding it more now because he's getting a little bit of sunburn here and there when he's on the motorcycle. And he bought sunscreen the other day because he didn't have any with him. And so I quickly threw out the other stuff that was 3 years old or whatever. But it does seem like it could be just a ploy to get you to buy more, but it really, really isn't.
Yeah, and it's expensive. We know it's expensive.
Yes.
So getting rid of that can of spray that you had for the grandkids 2 or 3 years ago, you still got to do it. Get rid of it. I hope I have never caused anyone any harm with my lackadaisical approach to expiry dates. That's never been my aim.
Oh, no, it's been funny. Yeah. The other thing about sunscreen, because I get these brown spots, and I've got one from Italy from last year, and it's actually, I consider it a souvenir. It's on my face. But I've been to a dermatologist about sunscreen and putting on the right stuff and everything, and we're supposed to put on a lot more than most people do. Like when they say slop or slather, they're not kidding. It usually takes quite a bit to, and 15 to 20 minutes before you go out. All that stuff is apparently true, according to my dermatologist.
Yeah, and you are careful about the sun. You're more careful than anyone I know, but you've also got beautiful skin.
You know, I felt like a bit of a freak, actually, when we were on that trip because I was reapplying it every couple of hours, and sometimes I couldn't go hide somewhere. I kind of had to do it, you know, in front of people, and but I'd rather risk a little bit of embarrassment than one of those brown souvenirs.
Yeah, the dangerous ones. Usually souvenirs from Italy show up around your waistband, Lisa.
Oh, they did that too. They did that too, yeah.
More embarrassing than putting on your sunscreen in public, which isn't embarrassing at all. Let's normalize being careful about ourselves.
Right.
Is this new TikTok thing going around? Oh my gosh, what is it with, like you said, you know, the village idiot? Everybody gets a microphone. Not us. Well, we've got them, but we're not idiots.
That's right. And we'll tell anybody who
Listeners
asks.
may disagree.
So in addition to this trend of going online and saying sunscreen causes cancer.
I know. Can you believe
No.
people are saying that? Is there any...
Apparently there's an ingredient that if you had a truck back up and dump it on you and you laid there for a week, yeah, you might get a tumor. But a little tiny smidge that you're going to put on your skin is irrelevant. But the TikTok beer thing, tell me about this.
Okay, so did your mom ever do what my mom did? Mix iodine and baby oil. Did your mom ever do that?
Not the iodine, just the baby oil. And oh, she would lay out there for hours. She used to get really, really dark. And so, of course, I followed. And yeah, early days, yeah.
Well, it used to be a thing with baby oil or tanning oil to get a faster, darker tan, and that is dangerous. But now the idiots of TikTok are turning to a different liquid to help them get a summer glow, which is beer. People are pouring cheap beer on their skin and lying in the sun to get a tan because they say that the hops in the beer can make you tan faster.
For starters, we're not supposed to even be tanning anymore.
Right.
I live in a beach town, and I see all the people lying out there, and I just think, oh, my goodness, it's noon, high noon.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see anybody pouring beer on themselves because that would be an expensive waste. So does anybody say this is a good idea other than somebody trying to get followers on TikTok?
No, absolutely not. The alcohol in beer is drying to your skin, so that's the last thing you'd want to do is dry your skin out by applying something topically. It's also going to likely wash off any sunscreen you applied, which I'm not thinking these people put sunscreen on to begin with. Plus, get this.
Right.
Bugs may be attracted to the drink's scent, and you smell cheap. And it can actually keep you from getting a tan. Hops have inhibitors of tyrosinase, which is basically the main enzymes that make melanin in our skin. So there's just absolutely no reason. If you want a summer glow, they recommend you use a bronzer or a sunless tanner and never, ever, 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 ever tanning beds.
I don't even know how any of them are still in business. I use a bit of a bronzer, but you also have to be careful, especially when it gets down around the ankle or the foot. If you get a little bit of a glob of it, it really shows up, let me tell you. But that's my go-to, not beer.
But trust me on the sunscreen.
Well, when we're talking about sizzling and beer, it leads us right into the queen of the grill, the queenager of the grill.
The barbecue industry is facing quite a bit of a slowdown. And there are two main reasons for it. One is that people aren't eating as much meat. Just overall, we're eating less meat. You can grill plant-based stuff, of course, right?
Of course, yeah.
And vegetables, but we're just not, usually you think of grill, you think of steak or burger or something like that. Chicken. Everybody went nuts, apparently, during the pandemic, looking for something to do to entertain at home and bought new barbecues, so nobody needs a barbecue.
Oh!
This is what they found. Isn't that incredible?
It's not we are barbecuing less, we are just purchasing fewer barbecues.
Right, because we already have them. And if you do need a barbecue, it's probably a really good time to get one because everybody's got tons of inventory. And they're just not moving because they had this feeding frenzy, pun intended, during the pandemic. So it's not a good time to be a barbecue salesperson, I suppose. I know we did a little bit, thought, it's a lot more money or whatever, but we'll make it work. What the heck? Because we're being stuck at home, You kind of treat yourself a little bit.
Right.
So.
We're going to wrap this up this week with a quiz on how Canadian you are. Now, you don't need a pen.
Ooh.
I think if you're like me, you'll be able to count on one hand the things you have not done. Okay? Are you ready?
Okay. So we're counting the things we have not done. Okay. Yep.
Okay. Seen Niagara Falls. Been to an NHL game. Have you?
Yep.
Oh, you have? Okay.
Oh, several, yeah.
Eaten poutine.
Oh, yeah.
Been to 3 provinces. Gone up the CN Tower. Been on a ferry. Seen the Rocky Mountains.
Drove through them.
Kayaked or canoed. Seen a beaver. Keep it clean. Been to a territory. Gone skiing. Gone to Ottawa. Seen the Northern Lights. Now, up until about a month ago, I would have said no, but I got that one on my list now. Yay. Calgary Stampede. Eaten a beaver tail. Not a real beaver tail. We're talking the pastry ones, especially sold in the Ottawa Byward Market. Visited a national park. Seen a whale. Felt minus 40 Celsius. Had a snow day. Some people responded and said, we didn't have snow days. I lived in Dawson. We went to school. Okay, buddy.
That's right.
Seen a moose. Played hockey. Made an Inukshuk, those little stone statue things.
I have one in front of my house in London, yeah.
Slept in a tent. And finally, drank bagged milk. So I missed out on one of these because...
Me too.
Is it played hockey?
No, I've played hockey. What I haven't done is gone to a territory.
Oh, we did that. We went on an Alaska cruise, and we had to get off the cruise and take a van to the Yukon Territory out of Alaska so that we could see the Yukon Territory. We got one of their, what they called a rare sunny day. We canoed, we horseback rode, we did the thing. So, yeah, just one. You haven't been to a territory. Well, I've been to hockey games, and God knows I've washed hockey underwear with Rob playing, but I haven't played hockey myself. So, missed one.
Well, okay, I don't know if this counts. You're going to have to make a ruling on this. Now, I'm talking about playing hockey, not in an arena, but we had a pond where I grew up, and it would freeze over, and we'd play like pickup games out there.
Totally counts.
That counts?
Of course.
Okay. All right, then I'm still at just one. Got to get my butt to a territory.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll do it together.
That's kind of cool.
It is cool.
Yeah, all the totally Canadian things, like a beaver tail,
Right. Well, as we wrap up, reminding you that no actual beavers were hurt in the production of this show, we will wish you a happy, happy July.
Yes. I don't know why that strikes me so funny. I think I'm suddenly 8 years old. Oh.
Yeah, when did beaver become synonymous with something that is kind of naughty? I never, ever. But who knows?
Well, I prefer that over some of the other words they've used.
Yeah.
So I'd rather it was a pelt than some of the other things that have been said.
Than your mother's famous front bum? Yes.
Front bum, yes. Oh, hell.
Well, your mother's wasn't famous, but never mind. Maybe it was. I don't know. Oh, boy. Okay.
Oh, Mom. She would laugh her head off at that, so that's a good thing.
Well, good. And hopefully you had some laughs, too. Thank you to two Canadian companies, Envy Pillow, our founding sponsor, and Sierra Sil, Joint Formula 14, for making this all possible.
Email us if you have a question, a comment, anything you'd like to share. It's gracefullyfrankly@gmail.com.
I'm Erin Davis.
I'm Lisa Brandt.
Bye for now, eh?